Hey everybody! Today I wanted to show you how I make this style of, this is a bracelet, but honestly you can use your creativity to use this wrapping style on just about anything. It could be a standalone pendant, it could be a hair accessory, a necklace. On social media a lot of folks thought that it was a ring. That'd be a hella ring though. But just to show you all the different little details and everything. Just now, no two pieces come out exactly alike, but I'm going to be showing you the techniques and the kind of structure that I go through from beginning to end so that you can take those principles and apply them however you like. So I hope y'all enjoy. So this is another view of the bracelet I had made, just so that you can kind of see. It's actually, and I hesitate to say this, but it's fairly simple. There's only 3 different styles of weaving here in addition to the fractal wrap, but that's covered in a separate tutorial, as is painting a dragon eye. I will put links to those tutorials somewhere. I'm still trying to figure out how to use the internet properly in a way that other people understand. So it's scroll through my playlists. Hopefully you'll find them. Hopefully I'll figure out how to put in links. But yeah, I'm so pleased with this piece. I was so excited and inspired when I was making it. And it's just so shiny. Okay, so moving on. This is the base that I'm starting with. I had painted my eye, set it with Mod Podge, the doming resin or dimensional magic to attach the eye to the base. And I used that same dimensional magic to attach these little components, which were just little charms that I had purchased online. Bent them a little bit with my pliers to get them to be rounded, and then Mod Podged them on, and they're pretty well on there. I got the base, which is like this plated, I don't know, I've been wearing my other one all day, and it doesn't turn me green at all. But if you have any problems with metal allergies, I would recommend going through with that same dimensional magic with the Mod Podge, and just lining the inside of it, kind of painting it, building up a couple of coats. It's the same concept as covering it with clear nail polish, but far more durable. So this is the base that we're starting with. So the materials I'm going to be using today are, all the wire I use is almost exclusively Parawire. In this project it will just be Parawire, using 18 gauge in the hematite toned silver plate copper core, and then the 26 gauge Parawire in silver plated titanium color. And what this is it's a copper core that's been silver plated and then covered with that colored enamel to give it that really nice, I wanted kind of a tarnished silver look, and I do prefer this one to their bright silver, at least for this project. I have a couple little accent beads, one like 5mm and 2 8mm bicone Swarovski crystals, some size 8 seed beads in transparent teal blue, which I thought was a pretty close color match to what I had going on in the eye, as well as, let me get that closed because I do not want to have to pick up beads today. Let's see, what color are these? They're like a really interesting like blue lined, it's a size 6 seed bead in yellow lime, and the brand was just Czech glass beads. But there we have those, and so that'll give us a little bit of size difference and stuff going on there. So next, the tools I'm going to be using are these. I have some flat nose pliers, some bent nose pliers, wire snips. A good friend of mine has my good pair, but they were getting worn out anyways. Some round nose pliers, And then also, if I can find them, my nylon jaw. Yeah, they're right over here. And these are mostly for work hardening and reshaping my wire, but I don't leave home without them. I'm going to begin by giving myself a generous 2 feet of wire and cutting 5 segments. So this project does use quite a bit of wire. So here I have the 5 lengths of the 18 gauge wire cut out and ready to go. And I'm using up an older spool, but I'm going to take a full arm's length. So I'm 5'4", so I don't know if I'm proportionate enough that my arm span is the same as my height, but I basically just did a full arm span of this 26 gauge wire. Now I'm going to do a detailed and up-close demonstration of the weave, and then I'm going to go into a time lapse because, I mean, this stuff is pretty time consuming, and I'm not going to make you sit there and watch through the whole thing. If y'all in the future would prefer to sit there and watch through the whole thing, please leave a comment and let me know, and I will take that into consideration. Now, the way that I do my basic coils, which would be like this section here, this piece coming across here, this piece here, the way that I do that is I just grip. I'm going to try to clear out the background a bit, make it as non-distracting as possible. I'm just going to grip my wire like this, and then I start rotating around. And there I've just done 10 rotations. I'm going to kind of squeeze it down on itself, and at this point I come through and I wrap the tail. I keep track of my rotations because sometimes on like if it's a symmetrical pendant or if I want to make matching earrings or something, it really comes in handy to know, oh, well, I just do 25 rotations. So here, I don't know if you can see, if my camera will work with me. There we go. You can see that little tail poking out. I'm going to take my bent nose pliers, grip that tail, and just kind of wrap and cinch it down. Excuse me. So there we are. I'm going to use my nails to just squeeze that down a little bit more. If you get any little bumpies in your coil, I just come in with my pliers and, you know, flatten it out, squeeze it down, like cinch it around, I guess. I don't know. Words are hard. So then I'm going to continue kind of wrapping and coiling this around. And you can see the way that, oh, camera. There it goes. You can see it's not perfectly next to itself, but I can always just tighten it down and that gets it together. Now, as you get better at coiling, you'll be able to get them to be basically, you know, each new rotation of wire sitting right next to the other one. But it never hurts to give yourself a little bit of space and then just scooch it, you know, down. Excuse me. So I'm going to do a couple more rotations like this. And there is a tool called a coiling gizmo, I think. Is that what it's called? I don't know. It's a very interesting component that like clamps onto your table, and then you string the wire through it in a certain way, and it has these different mandrels that you can hand crank, and it will do basically the same thing, but none of their mandrels were thin enough to fit onto an 18 gauge wire. And it's a very interesting tool, and I enjoy some of the pieces that it makes, but if I had to invest in either that tool or just building up my own freehand skill set of making coils like this, it's more versatile to have the freehand. So now I'm going to take this, and I want to give myself enough space that on the eye, if this is coming through from right here, I want to be able to come across, you know, the top and still have a little bit left over. So I'm going to give myself just a little bit more room. So you can see, I mean, it's a hand length plus 2 inches. I really need to get a ruler. And I'm going to add on another piece of wire. And I'm not going to do the same weave as what I did on the other one. I don't know, should I? Yeah, I will. So I just wrap twice around both of those wires. And then I'm going to stack my third wire, trying to keep the ends relatively lined up. And I'm going to wrap this around all 3 wires, trying to keep everything pretty flat and where I want and need it to be. Sorry, I'm moving around all over the place. I'm trying to keep it centered up on camera, I promise. Stack on a 4th wire. And really you could do this with just 3 wires, but I really enjoyed doing all 5 on that other piece. It gave me a lot of a kind of wire tail to work with. So wrapping around all 4 wires. Again, trying to keep everything nice and tight, nice and taut. And then I'm going to stack the 5th wire. And I'm going to wrap around all 5. And I'm doing 2 full rotations just because I liked the way that that looked. But you can use your artistic camera, so help me, I'll beat you with a stick. Sorry, so much violence. But yeah, it's coming out pretty neat. You can use your artistic discretion to decide to do, you know, this weave or any other weave. So I'm just showing you how I go about it. And so now we're on the decline. I'm just wrapping around 4. And if you wanted to get mega fancy, you could totally get away with using a half round wire on this, and that would be really neat. And now I'm going to go through 3 of them. 3 of the base wires. So there we are. And now I'm just going to come through 2. And then I'm going to do 5 rotations on this base wire. I'm using my fingernails to kind of cram that first rotation as far up next to the rest of it as what I can. 3, 4, 5. I feel very, very fortunate that I have naturally strong nails. If I did not, I would probably start wearing acrylic nails because I use them too much as a tool to just cram the wire right in the way that I want. Now this is a perfect opportunity to come in with your nylon gel pliers. This is it before flattening, which if you wanted a nice little bubbled effect, you could totally, you know, just stay with that. I personally prefer giving it a solid smush. And I think that sharpens it up nicely. It's got a little bit of bumping inconsistency along the bottom, but we're not all perfect all the time, so yeah. And I am just going to keep repeating this until I have about about this much. I don't know. About however much that you need to go from over yonder, or over here, across, to over yonder, over onto the side. So I only really need this much, maybe 4 inches. Play it by ear. On this piece, I believe I did 7 repetitions of this pattern. So if you want to measure it that way, if you want to measure it by inches, just however makes you happy. So I'm going to put it in a time lapse and hopefully get a decent view of what's going on. So I will see y'all in a bit. So here we have 7 repetitions, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of this pattern, making little like chevrons or mountains or triangles. And I have just a couple of inches of tail left over. So I'm actually going to take this and just coil it around like so. And I'm being kind of careful to get it down pretty close to the base, but not entirely smushed together. And I'm going to show you why here in a sec, because we're about to practice splicing in another piece. So you can see I bent this at almost a 90-degree angle, and that's to just get everything out of the way. That way I can come through and try to keep it on camera. Just wrap a little bit more freely. If I can save my fingernail, I will. I'll do my best, at least. And I'm just wrapping and wrapping. Goodness. Let no one say that I ever said that this was quick, because it is not. But worth it. Okay, so that is just a nice, messy little open coil. I'm going to pull off another segment. Only 1 arm's length this time. See? Snip a boop. And then I'm going to come in here, about right here, I think, centimeter from the rest of my working wire. Grip the tail. Oops. And I'm going to get that out of the way. Start wrapping in between the wires that have already been set. And you want to make sure that you don't overlay. And by coiling in the same direction, I have a tendency to coil away from myself. This new wire fits just right in between my old one. Now you can see here, it bumped up over. We just bring that back a bit and just keep going. There we go. And that's why having this open a little bit really helps the wire settle in between. And then back here, this tail, I'm actually just going to, I'm just going to snip that actually. And I'm going to take my flat nose pliers and grip it around and just train that nub down. And I'm going to compress all that with my fingers. If you have any areas of unevenness, I just use my pliers to cinch it down a bit. And there we go. That's how I splice in another wire. and I'm going to continue weaving to the end of this tip. So I'm going to put that into time lapse so that you can see what I'm doing without having to wait the 1.2 years that it takes to do all of this coiling and wrapping and stuff. But I will catch you. Okay, so here I have that bit coiled up, and now you're going to see how we start putting this on. I'm just going to give it a little bit of an arc because I want it to have, you know, this piece has a little bit of an eyelid effect where it looks like it might just like blink at you or something. At least in my mind, that's what's happening. So would be the top lid, you know. So, and this one's gonna be a sassy, super sassy eyeball. So I'm bringing this bottom wire down, getting it out of the way, bringing those 3 up and out of the way some, and this. So the second wire up from the bottom is actually going to be what I thread through this very conveniently placed hole on the side here. And so I just bring it down to where everything's sitting just nice and snug on top. And I'm going to bring it around and up. And that more or less stabilizes it. But you'll notice it put everything off center. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up a little bit. I'm going to bring it out some. Sorry. Okay, open it up a bit, bring it out some, and try doing that again. So that gave me, I mean, about 1 centimeter, but it's enough that it gets this top lid over and across. And so again, I'm using the second wire up, just feeding through the bottom for this hole. Sorry, sometimes I just say words and it's like, bottom, that's not what I'm talking about at all. And I'm pulling nice and tight, bracing it from the back with my finger, and then bending up and around, and I'm bringing this piece there behind everybody. So there you go. That's starting to form the basic shape of our eye. And now with this piece coming down, I'm actually just going to wrap it around like that. I think I'm going to have it overlap just a bit. Just like that. Again, giving the shape of the eye. Once I get this basic shape down, then I really start to flesh out the details and the piece becomes however it's going to be. If that makes sense. Okay, I'm bringing this wire behind this one to just stabilize, and to do that, I'm just going to wrap around twice. There's once. Time and a half. Gonna bring those 2 wires together. Love my bent nose pliers. Exactly for those purposes. And so now with all these wires, I'm actually going to change camera angles. That way I can function a little bit higher and you can still see what I'm doing. So I'll be right back. So now here you can see kind of what's going on. A little better maybe. And this is not entirely stabilized over the eye, as you can see. So what I'm going to start doing here then is I think I'm going to put one of the, oops, snagged my camera with a wire. Where'd they go? I'm going to put one of these decorative Swarovski crystals. I'm just going to slide it right on there. I think I'm going to have it maybe accent. I mean, this point really is entirely just up to your own artistic discretion. I mean, there's no right or wrong way to do this. So yeah, I think I'm going to have the crystal sit there. It is blocking some of the very interesting gear work, but I think that'll be okay. And I'm actually going to have it come down inside this coil just to keep it stabilized. And I'm going to make a cute little spiral because I like cute little spirals. And so that way that crystal is nice and stabilized. It bound off that end. Okay, and so now I'm left with kind of these 3 wires right here. And 3 off onto this side. Now down here, this one, ooh, I think that's what I'm going to do next, is I'm going to flesh out the bottom just a little bit. I think with a nice teal, these teal beads, the size 8, I'm going to get another full arm span of, well, lower the rest of what's on the spool, of the 26 gauge. And now I'm going to kind of pull this piece out just to where it's protruding perpendicular from the rest of the project. Sorry for the scratchy, awful wire noises. Oh, good grief. And I'm going to wrap just 5 times. I'm just stabilizing this wrapping wire. Cinching the tail down. And I'm going to show you how to do this style, where it's little seed beads that have a little wire wrapped around them. You can't see it on this one as much, but you'll definitely be able to see it on the other one. I'm just going to slide a bead onto my 18 gauge. And then holding it stationary with my finger, I'm just going to wrap around, wait for the camera to catch up. And then do 3 coils. Nah, I'll do 5. 4, 5. I finish with the tail coming up and towards me. And that, you know, typically wouldn't be that important, but I am looking for consistency here, and that helps me if I leave off on the same spot. Then my crosses, whenever I cross over the top of the beads, will be much more in the same spot of each other. If that makes sense. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and on the up. Compress it down in my fingers a bit. And slide on another bead. I mean, it's repetitive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But, oh boy, that's going to be really nice looking, I do think. Nice, even, consistent. Ooh, so pretty. So I'm going to do this a whole bunch. And then I'll meet you back here so you can see what I'm doing next. So here you can see I have a nice about 4-inch length section of the beads with the wire around them. I'm just straightening out these little wires, you know, that cross over the tops of the beads to get everything all nice and even. Now you notice I work a lot closer to the end of my wire because it's just easier. So what I'm going to do here to get it moved down, pardon me, to the rest of where I'm working, is I grip it with my bent nose pliers or whatever you have on hand, and I kind of loosely pull everything down. And that's a technique that the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. But yeah, so just like that. And then from here, I am going to finish up wrapping this tail. And this is why I prefer to work close to the end as opposed to close up to the piece, is because I'm having to like work my arm around this long tail of wire. So I'm actually going to move this back up, being very careful to not pull it off the end. But yeah, just back up to where I can just go much more quickly in a way that I feel is much more even, you know, of a coiling method. Compress it down and coil some more. And if you mess up and, well, let me see if I can, accidentally go back a few, like that, if you can see, just unwrap them and try to coil it down again, nice and tight. Please pardon the dogs wrestling. Just tightening down the rest of this with my fingers. Tighten that down with my pliers, squish. And now, again, just holding the end there and just pulling it right on down. And that's butting it directly up to where I was working. So I gave myself a little bit more. Yeah, I didn't really measure this or anything, so what I'm going to do now is pull this away a bit, and I'm going to open up right here. I'm going to snip on this wire, being very careful to not cut my base wire. I'm going to open that up with my thumbnail, just to give me something to grab. Well, if I can. Shoot. Oh, I was opening it in the wrong way. Gonna grab that with my pliers. Trying really hard to just remove this section, and it's not wanting to come. So, let me see if I can't. Good gravy. I know, Harley Dog. Z. Okay, so I got a little loop there opened up, so I'm going to grab with my pliers and I'm just going to pull, and it takes that wire right off. Hey guys, stop wrestling, okay? You're fine, George. They'll be dogs, it's what they do. So I'm going to straighten the wire back up. But removing that little bit, hopefully, will have made it to where it fits a little bit more smoothly into what I'm already doing. Okay, so I'm going to thread this tail through the same hole. Try my best to not mar up the wire. And I'm even going to feed some of the coiled section through, proves a little bit more difficult. There we go. And then it's just sitting like that. Again, building into that eyeball shape. Now this piece, I'm going to bend down, get those out of the way a little bit, get that one out of the way a little bit, and I'm going to thread it through itself, like this, you know, just right underneath there. The more I can do to stabilize these wires and keep them from just being all crazy and all over the place, the better, I feel like. So I hate to waste all this tail, but I do think I'm just gonna, I don't know if I'm gonna snip it yet. Let's see. If I hate to waste it, let's see if I can avoid that. So I'm just making a loop. Yeah, that's nice. And then I'm gonna use my nylon gel pliers if I can find them. There they are. To straighten out. See how this kind of bumpy and not as nice as it used to be? Just straightening Now keep in mind, using your pliers like this will also harden the wire, but for something that's going to be going across the top, I think that'll be just fine. And so now on this piece, being a short little tail like that, I'm going to thread on another 8mm Swarovski crystal, just like that. And I'm going to loop it around itself and down through the bottom. And I think I might make this guy a little spiral down there, so I'm going to trim off to where it gives me about maybe 3 centimeters to work with. Grabbing the wire as close to both the tip of the wire and the tip of my pliers as I can, and cinching my hand around. And I just come down like that. It's a cute little, just a cute little spiral. So again, this part right here, not as stabilized as I would like, but we'll get there. We'll deal with that. So let me think about what I'm gonna do next and change up the camera angle again because I feel like this one's a little too shaky. And I'll be right back. Okay, so I figured out what I'm gonna do next. I'm gonna bring this ultra long wire here, that is the one that threaded through from the front to the back. I'm going to feed it through itself because I can. It goes to stabilize it just that much more. Tighten that down. Straighten it as best I can just with my fingers. And this one I'm going to get a full arm span of the 26 gauge wire. Snip. And I am going to do a, this one, okay. Very similar to how I just did on the other side with the beads. I am going to use larger beads in a different color to make a thing. And so I'm binding down the tail here. I'm going to open up my bead container. Now this time, instead of doing 5 rotations in between a bead, I'm just going to do 2. Like 1, 2. And this is going to give me a different effect, even though it's the same technique, by having the spacing be different. 1, 2. And they all run upstairs. That's just as well. 1, 2. Yeah, I really like these. It's a yellow bead with a lime green coated interior. So pretty. And I really like the translucent beads like this because they do give a very nice, like they kind of pick up on what's behind them, and they have like a bit of a glow, you know, whenever the light comes through them. It's nice. 2. And so I'm just going to keep repeating this pattern, same as before, until I have enough to go across this top section here. So I'm going to do that, and I'll come right back and show y'all what happened. So I've gotten that length, oh lord. I've gotten that length of beads wrapped and onto the space wire, which I am now going to take and insert as best I can through here, maybe? Sure, why not? Right out through the bottom. And that's so much of this really is just like, meh, I guess I'll put that there. And then seeing how it comes out. Like, I wish I had a little bit more of a refined science about this, but I quite frankly just don't. And so now this wire coming around up on this side, if I can get those out of the way, I'm going to do a weave pattern. I'm so tangled up on everything. Oh, bend those guys kind of down and out of the way. I'm going to use this wire. I'm going to thread through back over here. Try to keep it from kinking as I pull through. It kinked a bit anyhow, but I think that's okay. And so now with that tucked behind, it makes it a little bit more subtle. And I'm going to start the weaving pattern on these ones. So I'm going to wrap about maybe 10 or 15 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And so now, that gave me just a little bit, you know, that it looks brought together. I'm going to wrap both wires for 2 rotations. Just snugging it down as best I can. And then 2 rotations around this wire. Are you gonna look at it? Yeah, the camera figured it out. And I'm going to repeat this pattern of 2 on both, 2 on one, until it becomes this bottom line here. That's the same pattern that we're doing. Or it's 2 on both, 2 on one, 2 on both, 2 on one. So I'm going to show you one more time and then turn the camera off and do it by myself because my camera is very low on battery right now. The cord will not reach over here to charge it while I'm recording. Yeah, there's 2. And 2. So yeah, I'm going to repeat this until it comes probably over yonder on this way. We'll see what happens. So I'm going to do that much. So I'll catch y'all on the flip side. So I'm here, and this is a big case of faking it till I'm making it because I ran out of wire. About maybe an inch from where I would have liked to have run out of wire. So now, I have no idea how I'm going to do this. So I'm going to start by clipping off the tail of what I'm already working with. Sorry, I got wire in my mouth. Tidying that up a touch. Okay. Now, if I can make this look convincing from the front side that it has not been spliced, then that will work for me. I mean, if it were back here, I'd be a little bit more worried, but since this is going to be layered over that first part, it should be okay. So what I'm going to do then is cry into my wire wrapping for a little bit. No, I'm not. But let's see, maybe if I ground the wire to this part, then I can just start incorporating it from there, and that will keep everything all grounded and nice, and I'll be able to just, that's what I'm going to do. Okay. Oof, of course. So I'm going to try to lift that just a bit to make it a little easier to get through. Go in with my handy dandy bent nose pliers. Grab the tail of that. Come here. Come here, you. You silly berry. So I'm going to try to put a little bit of a curve on the end of my wire. make sure it's lining up. Yeah, that is where I want to go through. Okay. Get that out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. Ish. And cram it through. Are you crammed through? Maybe? Again, not always easy, but worth it. Can't quite reach with my bent nose, so I'm going to reach in with my round nose. Grab that sucker and pull it through. Okay, so the end there is kind of junked up, so I'm going to trim that off. Ideally, I would be able to go through and just do it like a regular coil wrap on that, but it's proving difficult to get in from the top there. So maybe if I feed in from below, again, I'm gonna put that same little notch in it. So that maybe as I hook it around, nope, it's not gonna want to, but I'll try anyways. Yeah, no, that's not happening. So what I'm gonna do from here then is do it like it's a twist tie. Nice, tight, neat little twists. I think 4 should be sufficient. Trim the end. And so now from here, I'm actually going to thread through from behind, just coming out on this side. That way it's wrapped around. Don't want to get a kink in the wire, so I'm going to take out that loop. But yeah, that way this wrapped part is coming up behind, and it's completely hidden now. And then I'm going to wrap 2. I'm going to try to hug that pretty close. There we go. So there's 1 and 2, and now two just on the bottom. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. There we go. I mean, it's not... Oh, I was going to say it's not perfect, but honestly, if I didn't know it were there, I can't tell too much of a difference, except for when I'm looking from below, and I can see that wire. In which case, I'm going to take my fingernail, and I'm going to push it up underneath just a little bit. That way, you know, it just hides it, maybe. But yeah, so this wouldn't necessarily work in every situation, you know, that I have, the need to splice this design, but it worked here. So I'm going to weave an inch more, and then I'll meet you back. Okay, so I took a bit of a break and had some lunch, and now I don't quite exactly remember where I left off. So I think what I'm going to do is I've just finished the rotation around this way, so I'm going to bring it up around from behind and just start coiling around this top wire. I have some fantastic news. This piece has sold to a lucky lady in Texas. I am so excited. I'm sad to see it go because it's my baby and I just made it, but I'm really happy that it has found a new home so soon after being made. But so that's very exciting. Going to take an opportunity while I do some coiling here to let y'all know about my Patreon page that I've just recently set up. At least recently at the time of filming. I'm very excited to offer exclusive like progress pictures and insight, like Q&A kind of stuff, and basically just a nice peek into all the nitty-gritty daily grind that makes my business function. You know, just we could, you know, there's no telling what we might be able to learn from each other. And I also post like really cute cat pictures sometimes. But you get access to that for just $1 pledge a month. And then for all of the increments of pledges beyond that, you get a gift of that value. So if you pledge $5, you get something, you know, of $5 value. If you pledge 30, you get something of $30 value. So, you know, that's pretty straightforward. For every dollar that you pledge, your name goes into a raffle. And every month, one lucky winner gets a free gift. So whether that's in addition to the gift that you get for your monthly pledge, or whether that's a gift that you get just because, you know, just because you pledged $1, just because you want to see what I'm up to, support the cause and everything. But I'm still pretty new to all this, so the winner will be picked via random generator. All of my patrons will get a number assigned to them in my, you know, on my computer, and we'll pick out winners that way. But so, like, again, if you donate, let's say $30, just because it's a reasonably round number, your name goes into the hat 30 times. So, I mean, it's not a guarantee that you're going to win, but it definitely gives you some much better odds. So let me know what y'all think of that concept and what kind of prizes you might like to see, you know, for the raffle winners. Like, would y'all rather get completed pieces as part of your winnings, or would you rather get like maybe a chainmail kit or something along those lines, or unset stones or crystals or beads, or, you know, materials for you to use at your leisure? I think that might be pretty cool. Okay, so this is taking quite a while. So I am going to cut out of here and finish wrapping up the rest of this 26 gauge wire. So I will see y'all in a minute. So here I have the rest of that 26 gauge wire wrapped around this piece of 18 gauge. And I'm going to take it and thread through right here, just because that makes me happy. Kind of just looping around. And I'm going to have it kind of come down and up through here, as well as here. Just because I'm trying to, again, just stabilize a little further everything that's going on. That builds out the line pretty nicely, I think. And then I'm going to take this 5mm bicone, and I'm going to bend it around so that it's kind of poking off to the side there. And I'm going to do a little loop. Just off to the side, just like that. And that way, that's much more stabilized. This one, well, now this one's the wiggly one. I can just press in a little tighter there, and it's going to hold its shape. Got a nice little loop going on. So I think what I'm going to do from here, I kind of like to do a little bit more weaving on this one, just to kind of, I don't know, flesh it out a little bit. I feel like I need something right in here, and I feel like I could use something right in here. I think I'm going to take one of these, just one of these little translucent teal beads. Slide it right on over, just like that, and make a little rosette loop. Coming down and around, just like that. And I'm going to feed up from below. Sorry, I know I keep wandering off camera. I really need to get better about that. Yeah. And so now I'm going to spiral that. And this is just me tidying up and taking care of some different loose ends. Spiraling around. That's pretty good. I think I like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do here then, and this is a technique by Lisa Barth, I believe is how her name is pronounced. Very talented creator. It's a snake weave with a bead addition. I'm not going to go too in-depth on how to do it because I highly encourage y'all to go like check out her tutorials and her books and different things, but I am just going to show you what it looks like just being done and how I'm utilizing it in my design. This might give you some ideas of how to utilize it in yours. So I've pulled off a complete arm span of wire and folded it in half. I'm looping that over. I've got 3 wires here. I'm looping it over the center of the 3. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it like 3 times. Just because this is going to kind of be tucked off to the side anyhow. And so now, I'm going to set that, I'm going to twist it so that instead of the wires being on top facing me, twist it around to where they're on bottom, on the side away from me. You know, I really hope that made sense. And so from here, I have my 3 wires lined up. I'm working towards the end of my wire because that is a lot easier for me. And I'm just bringing it from the back to the front, around the center, and then back down. And then from the back to the front on the top, and back that way. And so now I'm going to grab a bead. And again, Lisa goes into much greater detail and explanation and has some really awesome like pictures and stuff. Again, starting from the bottom, since that's the one I did first last time, getting my pliers out of the way. Just come around like that, and then come around like that. And then I'm going to put on another bead. And the key to the weaving like this is repetition. You know, it's if you're consistent and repetitious, then it's going to look good. And so yeah, I'm just going to keep doing this until I've reached... Also, I want to make sure that I can actually scooch it down my my wire. Yeah, see there, it's starting to get a little difficult. So really glad I decided to go ahead and pull it down to the base of where I'm working before weaving all of it and having it basically be stuck. But yeah, I'm going for something that'll just kind of come right across the top there. Kind of fill in that space. I think that'll be really nice. And I'm going to show you the technique that I use whenever I'm working at the base of the wire, like this. So I'm going to go ahead and put another bead on. I'm actually going to see if I can't just string 5 beads. 2, 3. Because putting the beads on for me is the time-consuming part. You know, it's like once I get started weaving, it's like I just go, you know? I'm going to close that so that I don't make a mess, because messes are what I do. Okay, and so lifting up those 4, I'm just going to bring this around and make sure that I just snag the one. So adding these additional beads does make it a little bit more trouble, but I don't know, let's see if it's worth the trouble. Bring those 3 up, bring that down, bring in this wire, and whenever I've got a lot of wire coming off the end, instead of, I'll just push through, if that makes sense. Like, a lot of this for me is so much more visual than actually being able to describe it with my mouth parts, with words. Are you laughing at me, George? Yes. I can't blame him, honestly. So yeah, just bringing it around, binding off one more. George, I'm a professional, okay? I really should know better vocabulary for all this crap. But yeah, I need help. But yeah, so that's how it's coming out. And I'm just going to keep on layering through, adding beads, and continuing this weave until I've reached over to the other side where I want it to be. Okay, so I've completed the snake weave, and I've gone through and coiled up the tails of the 26 gauge wire onto the 18 gauge base wires on the 2 far sides, but left the middle bare. And now what I'm going to be doing actually is, I think, just bringing this around and pushing right on through this way. Just kind of cramming is such a unelegant word, inelegant, not elegant, opposite of elegant word, but that's basically what I just did, was I just crammed it in. So now I've got this tail that I think I'm gonna have come up and around, maybe, making a nice little loop, loop-de-loop. Could that use coiled the rest of the way? I do believe so. We'll do that here in a sec. This guy down here looks like he could use quite possibly coiled the rest of the way also. So, and then I actually think I'm just going to not entirely sure what I'm going to do with these 3 wires. You know? I don't know. I think what I'm actually going to do, because this one's getting, I'm not feeling it on these 3. Like, there's not something that I'm like, oh yeah, they could go over here for this. I'm going to make 3 slightly gradiated in length clips. And I'm just going to make little spirals out of them. Like cute little curly eyelashes that will actually get tucked up behind this beadwork. And honestly, y'all, that's how most of my pieces evolve, is it's like, yeah, this fits here, that fits there, I don't like this there. You know, kind of, just using your artistic discretion to just make something. It's fun. I like it. So, I actually don't know if I'm going to coil this one down the rest of the way. I think I might just bring him. And yeah, he needs coiled the rest of the way. Don't be afraid to experiment, y'all. And this one still has a little bit more movement than what I would like, so I'm going to bring this fella around and loop up through this way. And just loop. Now, oops, sorry. I'm saving all of this scrap. Like, I don't throw any of this. I mean, that is plenty long to be able to use on possibly another project. I could weave them together to make some earrings or a ring, or I mean, just a variety of things, really. So that's spiraled around and tucked under the edge there, so it's not going to get snag on anything. And so now I'm going to, no, yeah, I like it around the edge there. To add in a wire, I'm just inserting my thumbnail, kind of opening that up a little bit. Just like that. I don't think it's going to take a full length, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work off the spool. Tuck these wires kind of out of the way. And I'm just kind of wrapping in between the wires that were already on there to splice this new piece in. And then on this one, on this side, I'm going to tighten it down with my fingers. Again, making sure that it goes in between the wires that are already there. Or if I were my pliers, what would I have? There they are. And tuck that tail. Oops. Compress it down without ruining all of my hard work. And now I'm just going to keep coiling, and I'm going to do that on both of the sides. Okay, everybody, so I think we're on actually our last step here before being completed. I've gone ahead and coiled off, you know, a good bit, and I think I would like to come behind and then in front of on this one. Ooh, that's nice. Or is it? I'm going to try in front of and then behind to see if I like the way that that looks better. Which I do, kind of. I'm going to put a loop right there. I don't really like that loop there. Sorry, and that's, you know, what a lot of this is, too. But I am, instead of looping, I'm going to wrap around both of them. So this one, go ahead and trim just a couple of millimeters of tail past where the coiling is. So there's that. And now on this one, I actually think I might come from behind. And then up and through, perhaps. Yeah. Why not? And I'm going to trim this one just a couple of millimeters past where the coiling stops. And I'm going to just tighten that spiral right up. And there we are, y'all. Going to kind of buff up all the fingerprints off of the eye itself. So each one has its own distinct look, but using these techniques, you can make whatever you want, you know. And looking at this, you know, it can seem very, very overwhelming. You know, where do you start? Where do you even begin on a piece like this? And that's why I wanted to put this tutorial together, was so that I could show you exactly how I start, how I do it, and how I just layer and layer the complexity and the kind of just the mess of it until I have it the way that I want. But yeah, please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you're on Patreon, please go show me some love over yonder. Maybe I can share that link with your friends. But I really like being able to make these tutorials and provide them to y'all free of charge. So any way that y'all want to help me out in keeping them coming, whether it's commenting on some ideas for future tutorials or, you know, just sharing the videos with your friends, every little bit, you know, helps out in every little way. Now also, a last note about sizing. You can brace your finger on the inside here and just kind of bend in the tips here. And that way you can smarsh it down to fit different wrist sizes. But that's quite striking and I really like it. So thank you guys for sticking through and watching this video tutorial of mine. Please let me know what you think in the comments below, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I'll see you around. Happy crafting!